So there are a couple of videos like this. What if videos where we change just one thing about a story and see how it unfolds. Masako X is the most famous one with his Dragon Ball what ifs. I'm not sure if he was the first, but he is the most famous. For the Naruto series, there are YouTubers like Anime Junkie, Anime X plus Ultraman, Tyrant X, and Anova or more. I'd like to do one of these as well, as the title of this video indicates. What if Naruto was a girl? And yes, I know that Tyrant X and Kid Broly have already explored this scenario, and I have watched those videos, but I want to try my hand at this one as well. Beyond having written a gender-bent Harry Potter inheritance cycle crossover fanfic, this will be my first attempt at anything like this, so by all means, give me your thoughts. So let's dive right in. What would be different if Naruto was a girl? Well, let me go out on a limb and say that it's very much possible that nothing changes at all. The adventures that the original Naruto goes through, the development and the way the world as a whole reacts to her, might not change all that much. Bullying and social isolation isn't exclusive to young boys. I mean, Boruto might not happen, obviously, and Hinata's crush might take on another form, and there might be even more sexual tension between Sasuke and Naruto than there was in the original canon. But other than that, it's possible that nothing changes at all. But in that case, this video will be very pointless. So I'm going to introduce some butterflies to conjure up some whirlwinds. Hopefully those butterflies won't seem too unreasonable. So as the first butterfly, I'd like to summon one, Ino Yamanaka. Why her? Well, because of all the people that might make a change in Naruto's childhood, yes, that's what I'm calling female Naruto, I consider Ino the most likely. The reason for that is the relationship between Ino and Sakura. In the flashbacks, we see that Sakura used to be an insecure little girl who was bullied for her large forehead. Children can be callous, vicious little shits. What can you do? Now, Ino reached out to Sakura, who was bullied, and made an effort to befriend her. Given that she did that, I think it's believable that Ino might also try to reach out to Naruto in a similar fashion. If she saw a little girl sitting there on that famous swing, tears in her eyes from being rejected yet again, I believe Ino might take pity on her and try to reach out. Well, why didn't she do so in canon? Well, at that age, girls and boys do tend to keep themselves mostly separate. Boys play with the boys and the girls with the girls. Exceptions exist, of course, but on average, this tends to be true, and I believe it's enough to justify this canon divergence. When will this happen? I'd say it happens after Sakura and Ino already made friends. The reason for this is that Naruto's loneliness isn't as obvious as Sakura's. Naruto, just like Naruto, tries to hide her own pain and loneliness behind a lot of false bravado. Maybe this wasn't always the case, but when a child cries and nobody comes to its aid, it will eventually try other ways to protect itself. Naruto had a terrible childhood. We know that the canon Naruto lived in his own apartment with almost no oversight from a very young age. What happened before that time is something we can only speculate on. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So let's wind back time all the way to when Minato died and the question of Naruto's guardianship must have come up. Given that Jiraiya was a godfather, he would probably have been offered a chance to raise her, which he refused. He refused in canon, and I see no reason why a gender would change that. Now, Jiraiya's actions can be explained here, though this too is only speculation on my part. After the death of the fourth Hokage, they probably need someone of his skill to run missions with the death of its greatest shinobi and the village having suffered a lot of damage from the Kyuubi attack, the other nations might just want to test Konoha's strength, and it was important to keep up a strong front. The same was done in the aftermath of the Sound Sand invasion later on, with most Jonin out in the field, and getting forced to take on missions that would normally be considered beyond them. Jiraiya might also just be too heartbroken to take care of Naruto, a living reminder of the student he had lost. None of that justifies his behavior. It's still a very douchey move to leave your goddaughter to fend for herself, not even introduce yourself until much, much later. I'm just trying to explain it. He might check up on her once in a blue moon when he is in the village to see if she's alright and secretly leave her a frog-themed present like Naruto's canon wallet, but that's about it. Now that still leaves the question of where Naruto ended up in her earliest years. Her identity as the daughter of the fourth Hokage is a secret, and unlike her Jinchuriki status, a well-kept one. That Jinchuriki status, I think, is a reasonable explanation for why no family was willing to take her in. The next option is the Konoha orphanage, the same orphanage that Kabuto went to. I'm going to say she didn't end up there either, given that it's never brought up in canon. Maybe the third Hokage considered Naruto too valuable to allow Danzo the opportunity to influence her, whether because she is a Jinchuriki or because she's the daughter of a dear friend. Because Danzo did have his finger in that particular orphanage, and I'm going to guess the Furto wasn't completely unaware of that. Or maybe Naruto was considered too dangerous by whoever was in charge of the orphanage at the time to be allowed in. Or maybe she did go there briefly, but was knocked out at such an early age she barely remembers it. What I'm going to headcanon here is that the third Hokage had a continuous stream of D-rank missions that said they had to take care of baby Naruto until she was old enough to take care of herself, by which he meant until she was old enough to walk, talk, and know how to put food into a microwave. These Shinobu took care of Naruto's physical needs, but didn't really take care of the emotional needs a child at that age has. Naruto had no parental figures at that age of any kind. All this background story was to explain why Naruto, as a general rule, tried to act out instead of cry a lot. What's the point of crying if nobody seems to care? Now, before we go back to Ino and Sakura, I'd like to address another event that happened a little before that time. The incident where Hinata was being bullied by 3 boys and the canon Naruto came to her rescue. I'm going to say that this event happens exactly the same way. Naruto is not shy about picking a fight. I mean, it's not like everyone's going to fight on her behalf. I don't see why this event would change based solely on her gender. Would Hinata's crush have changed based on her gender? Well, at the age they're at, I'd say the question is irrelevant. Hinata looked up to the one who came to her rescue, and that won't change. Whether something romantic will come of that, well, we'll see, won't we? Okay, now back to Ina and Sakura. While crying and openly showing her feelings is a rarity for her, on this day it all became just a bit too much. She tried to hide her face with her sleeve, but only half-heartedly. Somewhere in the back of her mind, a part of her hoped against hope, against all reason and prior experience, that someone just might give a damn. Out of the corner of her eye, she would see 2 girls approaching. These were in fact part of the group that had refused to let her be part of their play earlier. She honestly doesn't know what to do. A part of her wants to put on the mask of the delinquent troublemaker, become the Naruto who can stand up to the world and not be sad she's not a part of it. A part of her that she doesn't want to admit to wants these 2 to take pity on her. If not that, at least make them feel guilty for making her cry. Making others feel guilty tended to be the best she could usually get for her tears. Hey, are you alright? The blonde one, Ino Naruto thought her name was, asked. Ino, for her part, was also unsure about all this. I mean, this was Naruto, the troublemaker, the one who scribbled stupid pictures on their sensei's class board when he was away, the one who always showed up late to class, and sometimes not at all. She had these strange whisker marks and didn't act like a proper girl. Her hair wasn't all that well kept, her clothes tended to be not all that clean most of the time. Clearly her parents didn't raise her right. She hadn't been the one to tell her off before, but she also hadn't objected to it. Neither she nor Sakura wanted anything to do with Naruto normally, and she was way too abrasive on top of everything else. But seeing her in this state still bothered her. Sakura took little convincing to come along. Sakura was very much Ino's follower at this point. Why do you care? Naruto would respond, looking at them and making them see a red, tear-stricken face. Let them feel guilty, she thought. Look, we didn't mean to make you cry, Ino would say. Technically, hadn't been her that made her cry, but she still felt bad about it. I'm fine, Naruto would say, because really, what else was she going to say? Admit weakness? Beg for help? Sakura and Ino would look at each other, each wondering how they should respond to this rather obvious lie. Do you want to hang out with us? Ino would ask, still somewhat unsure, but this felt like the right thing to do somehow. Naruto would blink twice, wiping her nose with the sleeve of her shirt, while doing so. What? She would ask, not sure if she heard correctly. I said, do you want to hang out with us? Ino would ask, with more force this time, expecting the offer to be turned down at this point. If Naruto wanted to cry and be by herself, that was fine, but they don't need to act as if the idea of hanging out with the 2 of them was so ludicrous that it merited double checking. Yes, Naruto said, her heart, which had until that point been contracting painfully due to sadness, seemed to do a flip-flop. I'll come along then, we could try finding some flowers. My parents own a flower shop, you know. Naruto would follow along and for the rest of their time together act very unlike both Sakura and Ino were used to. Naruto at this point would be adopting the most inoffensive behaviors he could think of, and simply quietly go along with both other girls. He spoke only when spoken to and answered any question with short, safe answers. When asked whether she wanted a couple flowers to bring home to show to her own parents, she simply said no. Throughout all the rest of the day, Naruto felt like she should say something more, to thank them somehow, but she was so unused to thanking anyone for anything, the words didn't leave the privacy of her own thoughts. When the time to say goodbye for the day came, she aped the other girls' "see you tomorrow." The next day, Naoko made a beeline towards the academy, arriving not only on time but almost an hour early. Remembering the spots where Sakura and Ino tended to sit together, she set herself right next to where they would normally sit. For the next hour, Naruto would wonder about what would happen when Ino and Sakura arrived. Would they see her and go sit somewhere else? Would they insist that she surrender her spot to the girl who usually occupied this spot? Students didn't have a strictly assigned spot, but everyone did sort of pick a seat and considered it theirs. So what if everyone gang up on her and insist she move? The first person whose arrival she was waiting slash dreading for was the girl whose seat she had taken. As expected, this girl wanted her seat back. Naruto claimed that she was here first, and if the other girl wanted her seat back, they should try and make a move. A small fight would break out at this point between Naruto, the girl whose seat she had stolen, and a few other girls who all sided against Naruto. It was to this scene that Sakura would arrive, seeing Naruto pushing and pulling against several other girls for the seat next to the one that was traditionally hers. Angrily, she would ask in a loud voice, "Naruto, what do you think you're doing?" "I wanted to sit here is all. I came here first, and they can't make me leave," Naruto would say, at this point having almost forgotten her original reason and was fully in her me against the world mindset. She resolved she wouldn't leave the spot now, even if Sakura or Ino insisted she do so. Sakura would sigh at this and say, "If you wanted to sit next to us, then let's just go sit somewhere else." That knocked the fight right out of her and made her remember what she actually wanted. Grabbing her things, she quickly followed after the pink-haired friend. Was that what they were now? Sakura went to sit next to the spot where Naruto would usually sit. Everyone always liked to leave at least one seat between her and them, so it wasn't like they were stealing someone else's spot now. Ino arrived not long after, searching the classroom with her eyes until she spotted her and Sakura, and simply took her seat on Naruto's other side, saying hi to her and Sakura as if the day was a normal school day like any other. Naruto, if possible, paid even less attention to their sensei's lecture than usual. She was too busy contemplating her new situation, what it would mean for her, and trying to keep the lump in her throat under control. She didn't want Ino and Sakura to think her weird after all. And that's where we're going to leave things for now. Please like the video if you did and let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Have a nice day, everyone.